Hello. Flow testing has historically been complicated, neither because of the fact that you could design flows with various directions, nodes, and arrows, or because of the testing feature provided by Salesforce themselves on the platform. See, interestingly, when you design large, complicated flows, and when you run them, you must understand that at which point what values were passed and if a certain subflow was called correctly or not called, whether the right data or the test data for your execution was used or not, and if something failed, can we trace it back and check the reason for its failure? So today, we are super excited to announce Salesforce Flow Testing as part of Test Zeus. So let's see how it works.
So let's see how can we do flow testing using natural language in Test Zeus. Over here on our screen, we can see that I have written a small test case. What this test case does is that it creates a new account, and then second, it checks that the account creation triggers a flow and then traces it. So basically the flow that we have built for the sample test case is that whenever a new account is created, using the values from it, we have to create a new contact. And to ensure that it creates the contact with the right values, we just have to add one line, which is the 10th line over here, to trace the flow, which is as simple as, and I verified that the account creation triggers a flow, and I trace the flow execution for the same. Just with those magic words in natural language, you can not only do the flow testing, you can also look at the values at each and every node when you run the test case. In order to run the test case, nothing magical has to be done here. You have to click on the live test button on the top right. But while this one is running, let me show you an older one. So over here, once the test case is run, we can see that as usual, all the artifacts are captured. The really interesting artifacts for the flow test are at the bottom. What we find over here is that we have a flow diagram. So there could be various paths, various branches and nodes which your flow could touch, but we show you in one linear way the exact flow which was followed for your Salesforce environment for that scenario. Over here, as we can see, it creates a contact from the new account and then a few records were created. That is how the interview got completed. We also show you the element timeline for each and every value. But let's look at one more thing. If I click on the create records box, we can see that on the right hand side, the exact values for creating that record with the timestamps are shown. This is super duper important when you are doing flow testing, because in a large complicated flow, unlike this one, what could happen is that the wrong values could be passed, causing the flow to fail, and it becomes really difficult to debug that issue as a developer. So on the Test Zeus platform, you can actually see the values being used at each and every node, so that debugging and testing your flows is super easy. So that's how you can perform flow testing using natural language on Test Zeus. Feel free to try it out and let us know if you have any questions. See you on the next feature launch. Bye-bye.